Hello everyone, welcome back to Selenium Webdriver tutorial, and in this video we are going to see different ways to find Xpath. So what is Xpath? Xpath is used to find the location of any web element on a web page using HTML DOM structure. There are actually two types of Xpath. One is absolute Xpath and another one is relative Xpath. Absolute Xpath starts with root node or a forward slash. The advantage of using absolute Xpath is it identifies the element very fast. Disadvantage: if some other tag or element added in between, then this path will no longer work. This is an example of absolute XPath. And relative XPath. So relative XPath is a one where the path starts from the middle of the HTML DOM structure. It doesn't need to start from the root node. It starts with double forward slash. It can search the element anywhere at the web page. This is an example of relative XPath. A difference between single slash and double slash. A single slash locate element immediately inside its parent element. Double slash locate any child or any grandchild element inside the parent element. Now let's go back to Mozilla and see how to find absolute and relative XPath using an add-on. If you see here, I have installed an add-on called Firebug. So you have to install two add-on. One is Firepath and another one is Firebug. You can just type Google, install Firebug. It will take you to a Mozilla add-ons page. Install this Firebug, and after you install the Firebug, install Firepath. So now you can see the add-on here, Firepath. Install both these add-on. And now we will go back to Google web page. If you click on this icon, it will launch the Firebug UI that you can see here. So this is a Firepath. It contains two options. It contains three different options: show entity OM, show parent toolbar, and generate absolute XPath. Now we want to generate absolute XPath, so you should check this one. And this is an inspector tool. Just click, drag and drop on any web element which you want to generate absolute XPath. So in this case I want to generate absolute XPath for this search text box, and this is an absolute XPath. If you see here, this is an absolute XPath of this search text box. So if you see this XPath expression, it starts from the very beginning. It starts from the HTML. Then it navigated to a body tag. After that it navigated inside this div tag, but this div tag contain a number inside a square bracket, which means this one indicate the index of div tag. This body tag may contain any number of div, but this div one indicate the XPath that it should go inside the first div. Now let's see. It starts with HTML. After that navigated inside the body tag. Then this body tag contain two div tag, but this div one indicate the XPath that it should go inside the first div. Likewise this div 3 form div, and it navigated finally to the input tag, third input tag of this div tag. If you see here, it contains three input tags: first input, second input, and third input. It navigates inside the third input because this Google search HTML code is present in the third input section. So this is how an absolute XPath works. It starts from the very beginning and navigated to the web element which we want to inspect. This XPath, this absolute XPath, is quite faster than relative XPath, since there is no searching operation performed on the absolute XPath. Whereas in relative XPath, this XPath expression will do a lot of search to find an element. But people mostly prefer this relative XPath rather than the absolute XPath, because in absolute XPath, if any new element which gets added in between this section, then this entire XPath will no longer work, or it may take us to a different input element. So that is why we are preferring relative XPath. If you want to generate relative XPath, you should uncheck this one and go to inspector tool, click and drag and drop on the Google search text box. So if you see, it has generated an relative XPath. It starts with a double forward slash followed by star followed by star, and inside the square bracket you can see ID and value. We will shortly learn how to write the Xpath, but you should know how to write the Xpath because this add-on is quite good for a beginner, but as a pro you should know how to write Xpath on your own because sometimes this add-on won't help. I will show you an example. So if you drag and drop this on a Google search, it gives a combination of relative and absolute Xpath. Up to this it was relative, and after that this follow relative, it follow an absolute Xpath methodology. So we cannot use this Xpath because at any time any new element can add in between this expression. So if you know how to write Xpath on your own, you can eliminate this risk. So we will now go back to the slide and see what are the different approach to find the relative Xpath. Oops. So first one is a basic Xpath, second contains, or and operators, starts with function, text function, by index, Xpath access method. We will see one by one now. So first one is a basic Xpath. So basic Xpath expression select nodes or list of nodes on the basis of attributes like ID, name, class name, etc. from the XML document as illustrated below. So you can see this is a syntax of a basic Xpath. It starts with the double slash followed by tag name, and inside the square bracket we have to use attribute. Before that, don't forget to add at operator, and then you should use assignment operator, and inside the single quotation you should pass the value of the attribute. At very first time if you are looking at this code, it will look much complicated, but once you start practicing this, once you start writing this Xpath expression, then it will get used to it. So now let's go to Mozilla, and this is a simple example of a basic Xpath input, and it finding an attribute called name, and this is a value of this attribute name. Now we will write an Xpath expression for this Google search button. I will cancel this one. So as I said, the Xpath expression should let me zoom this one. The Xpath expression should starts with double slash followed by a tag name. That is the tag name here is input. This is a tag name, and whatever the values which is present inside are attribute. This is a type, JS action, name, Arial label, value. These are all attribute, and whatever the text which is present inside the double quotes are attribute values. So we have written double slash input, and we have to create square bracket. We have to close the square bracket, open and close the square bracket, and inside the square bracket we have to give attribute and value. So attribute should starts with at symbol followed by attribute. So in this case I am going to use attribute name, so I should write name. I should type name and close, open and close the single quotation, and inside this quotation you have to type the name attribute value, that is BTNK, that you can see here. It's BTNK. If you click enter, it will take you to this one. You can confirm here that it's one matching node. If there is a zero matching node, then this Xpath is not a valid. If there is a more than one matching node, then you have to do something to make it one, because if it shows more than one matching node, which means this Xpath contain duplicates, and sometimes it may not work as expected, and as a Selenium it will always go with the first match it find. So that is why you should write an Xpath which is a unique one. And this is a basic Xpath. Now let's go back and see the contains method. So actually contains is a method used in Xpath expression. It is used when the value of any attribute change dynamically. For example, name is equal to 12UID234. So just assume that this number 12 and 234 are frequently changing every time when you are refreshing the website, but still you want to locate an element with the attribute name. You can do so with this three text UID, since it is a constant. So you should use this is syntax of a contain. You should use a double slash followed by tag name, and inside the square bracket you have to use a method contain. Inside the parenthesis you have to pass attribute and value. This is quite similar to a basic Xpath, and might be look a little complex rather than basic Xpath. But as I said, once you start practicing this, it will get used to it. And this is an example of contains logic. Now let's go to Mozilla, and we will write Xpath using contains method. So I have to use contain inside. Let me zoom this. I have to use contains. I have to enclose this name and attribute value inside the parenthesis, and I should replace the assignment operator with a comma. And if I click on enter, now let's see, one matching node. It's showing one matching node. So this works. But I want just assume that this B, first letter, and K are frequently changing every time when you're refreshing the website. So I can remove that one, and if I press enter, still it finds the Xpath. But if you see, there are two matching nodes. This Xpath contain duplicate. If you see that, oops, the first input btnk also contain a word tn, and unfortunately this input also contain tn. So we should add more parameter to this Xpath to make it unique, that we will see shortly. Now let's go back to the slide. Contains using or and operator. So if you use the OR expression, at least any one of the conditions should be true to find the element. In AND expression, all conditions should be true to find the element. So this is a syntax of OR and AND operator, and this is an example. So if you see, there are three attributes which we have used in this Xpath expression. In this case, if you want this Xpath to be valid, then at least any one of the attribute should return true. Either this one, or this one, but any one of the attributes should return true to make this Xpath valid. But if you are using AND expression, then all the attribute should return true. Otherwise, this Xpath become invalid. Now let's go back to the Mozilla Firefox. So here we could see it shows two matching node, and we have to make it as unique. So I'm going to add one more attribute to make it as unique. So as I said, these are all attributes: type, JS action are all attribute. If you take a type attribute, submit, these both are same. JS action, this is not a preferred one, so we'll go with another one. Name, so name we have already used in the contains, so we will look another attribute. Arial label, we can prefer this one, but let's see what is next. Value, yes, so value is good, so we can go ahead with value, and we can also find the difference between these two input. The value of this Google search is Google search, and the next input is I am feeling lucky. So we can make use of the value. So now I'm going to use AND operator, because if I use OR operator, it will still return a duplicate. So I have to use AND followed by attribute value followed by an assignment operator, and inside the single quotes I have to copy paste the value of this Google search button. So just copy paste the Google search value and type enter. Now let's see, it return only one matching node, but if I replace this with OR operator, it will return two matching nodes, since it will look for any one of the match. So this is a basic difference between AND and OR operator. Now let's go back to the slide. Starts with function. So starts with function, find the element whose suffix part of attribute value changes on refresh or any operation on the web page. For example, ID is text23. So you can use the starts with function if suppose the prefix, that is tail part, is changing frequently, but the prefix is not changing and it's still constant. Then in this case you can use starts with function. So if you see, let's assume that on every refresh this count get increased, but this value text remain constant. In this case you can use a starts with, and this is the syntax of a starts with. This syntax is most similarly like a contains, so you have to just replace the contains with a starts with. That's it. Now let's go back to Mozilla, and I can use function starts hyphen with. But in order to use starts with, we will just make an assumption that nk are continuously changing. So I can use the first two letter. Now if you press enter, you can see that it's showing two matching node. It's just because this both the input starts with bt, but this is how we have to use as starts with. Now let's go back to the slide and we will see a text. So it is used to find the element with the exact text match. So this is syntax, it followed by a double slash, tag name, inside the square bracket you have to use attribute text equal to and text value. So this text method is normally used to get the text present on the web page. So we will go to Gmail and inspect this one. So if you want to locate the element using this text, also if you know that this Selenium have a method called link text. By this way you can locate this hyperlink, but just since you want to explore this option, we will go ahead with text function approach to find the XPath. So let me inspect this one. It belongs to tag A, and inside the tag A it contains text. So we will write an XPath. So we'll write an XPath now for this Gmail hyperlink. So the tag name is A, and inside the square bracket, let me zoom this first. The tag name is A, and inside the square bracket I have to use text equal to, inside the single quotation I have to type Gmail. So if you press enter, it finds the text which contains Gmail, and if you ensure that it's return only one matching node, so this text XPath expression is valid, we can use this XPath expression. So this is how we have to use text function to find the XPath. Now let's go back to the slide and index. So index, it is used to find unique if duplicates are found. The syntax is we can use the basic XPath, but after the basic XPath you have to enclose the basic XPath inside the parenthesis, and you have to provide the index of the expression. So we will see how it works. This is a basic example of the index. So in the Google search, inspect element with a Firepath. So in the Google search, we know how to write the XPath expression /input. Let me zoom this one. /input. In the contents logic, we have find that it shows duplicate when we have used the middle two characters. So we will write that one. Contains at name comma tn. Let me close this parenthesis as well as square bracket. Now if you see that it shows duplicate since this both input tag contain text tn. So if I want to locate this first element, I should close the entire XPath expression inside parenthesis like this. home parenthesis. So we have closed the entire XPath expression with a parenthesis. After that, we should provide the index of the XPath. If you want to find the first, if you want to locate the first input tag, you have to give the index as 1. If you want to locate the second, you should give 2. So now if you press enter, it locate only the first input tag, that is Google search, which is what we want to locate. And if you see the matching, it is displaying only one matching node, which means it's a valid XPath. So this is how we have to use the index method in XPath expression. Now let's go back to the slide. XPath axis, it is used to find the complex or dynamic element. This XPath axis has a 13 different approach to locate XPath, to find a web element using XPath expression. So that we will cover in the later video, because this video is become quite lengthier, so I want to short it down. And thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to give thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.